Chigiri and Bachira, two of the most consistent players in the Neo Egos League. When it comes to scoring at least one goal a game, they are also pretty close together in the rankings, so putting them up against each other seems pretty fair, going both ways. So let's get right into it, starting with comparing their shooting ability. Both Chigiri and Bachira have somewhat of a formula for scoring goals. For Chigiri, it's his 44 Panther snipe, and for Bachira, it's his B shot. Now, to come to a conclusion is slightly more difficult than it would usually be due to the fact that neither of them really have any anti-feats with these formulas for scoring. But I do think I'll take Chigiri on this, and why I'm saying this is because, unlike Bachira, we get a confirmation saying that Chigiri's skills for getting a goal are world class. Now from Isagi, which is basically saying his 44 Panther snipe is a world class weapon or formula for getting goals. Now, while I don't want to downplay Bachira and say he's not world class, I do think he's at the low end of that level. But if we are getting outright statements early about how Chigiri's goal scoring abilities are now world class, then I don't think there's a lot left to say. Honestly, I don't think there's a lot left to argue. Chigiri is the better option when it comes to getting goals objectively, which will move us on to our next point, which is physicals are their athletic ability. Chigiri being a Manshine, the team that was based on just working out and getting the body you need to perform your ideal plays. And on top of that fact, in his debut, he was clearing the entire defense by himself, not once, but twice. This is Bastard's defense, by the way, which actually has defenders on it from Germany. He's even able to contend with a holding back Kaiser, the same Kaiser that Bachira kind of got swatted away from, and didn't even think he was worth his time. Now, I do think they train after every game, and I don't think Bachira is a pushover, but his training somewhat consists of meditating more than physical fitness, which is mainly what Chigiri is doing, and we get to see that in the Manshine flashbacks. So Chigiri is clearly the more physically dominant player, and of course the faster player of the two. Now, getting into overall technique and skills between the two, Bachira by far takes us. Bachira is usually guided by his creativity to come out with techniques on the fly or improvise. We are talking about his B shot on top of his dribbling techniques like Jenga X Monster and just his dribbling style in general, and his heel lift pass and his double gear double touch that he used to get past Kunigami. The list pretty much goes on. Unlike Chigiri, he does have different and various ways of getting in front of the net, and his dribbling is nigh unstoppable unless his flow is getting read, which only Ness and Nagi have been able to do. And even so, the times that they have done this was somewhat of the same instance. Bachira taps the ball high, and Nagi or Ness traps and stops his momentum, which I just feel like are outliers in this case, since they don't really consistently happen to Bachira, right? So, field IQ. Now, between the two of them, after rereading episode Nagi, it's clear Chigiri is a really good strategist in general, and was a big part of them winning most of the games that they did in second selection because of Chigiri. Bachira, I do think, has the capabilities to play a good midfielder, but it's a situation to Charles. Being a good passer without any actual playmaking abilities are, just crucial thinking in general, which you need as a playmaker. I just think there are more instances of Chigiri being more of a playmaker and a thinker than Bachira, which isn't an absurd reach since this is a player that mainly goes off of instinct. The arts of defense, and the last attribute we'll be going over before we move on to who's a overall better player. Now, in terms of defense, Chigiri actually has some really nice feats, being able to block Burrow's shot and blitzing Kaiser off the ball, just outright playing good defense and coming in clutch when it matters. Now, Bachira has some solid intercepts, like intercepting Nagi's pass to Rayo, but besides that, there's not much else since Bachira is mainly leading Bachira's offense in almost every play. Now, we are down to the verdict, and if you watch this whole video through, I think you can predict who's coming out on top, and it's of course Chigiri Hyoma. Chigiri is just the overall more rounded player, and for what it's worth, he's the best striker. He's the better striker as well. Both of them are consistent, but as a striker and as a whole, Chigiri can offer you more than what Bachira can. Both of them are consistent, but as a striker and as a whole, Chigiri can offer you more than what Bachira can. And if anything, has a slightly better NEL performance, but Bachira ended up with 2 goals in the last game, which resulted in him being a rank higher. But that really concludes this video of just talking about which one of them is overall better. And I do think it's pretty obvious and it's objective kind of that Chigiri is better than Bachira. But I do think it can be argued if you're smart enough and you nitpick enough that Bachira is a better striker than Chigiri. But as an overall player, Chigiri is just better than him, and that's just facts. But that's pretty much all for this video. Like this video if you enjoyed this content, and if you want more Blue Lock content like this, I would recommend to subscribe just to see more. I am going back to the daily upload schedule, so you will definitely be seeing more of me, if that's a good or a bad thing. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.